I just realized I talked for so long without mic power. That's great. Anyways, let's start this entire thing over. I'm Zach. Welcome to Expanded Understanding, episode number 46. I'm super, apparently not very good at this because I forgot to turn my mic on for the longest time. I'm happy that you're all here. Willow, Charlotte, Jasmine, Kevin. So good to see all of you. I feel like I'm living in deja vu right now because I'm basically just saying what I just said. Nevertheless, this morning I watched this drum and bass documentary that's been being linked around to me, and it really kind of rekindled inside of myself this space that was just a memory of something that I really liked when I was younger in my life. And I think that's a good way to keep in touch with our inner child, is to find ways that we can get back to things that we liked in our childhood and then rekindle that feeling as an adult, basically. If we're continually doing those things, we find ourselves still really accessing that joy and the bliss and the impracticality that came with kind of really loving what we were doing. And so from watching this documentary, I kind of just came to realize that really like the space that I would like to create to really be feeling what I'd like to feel in life on a regular basis really doesn't require that many people. And a couple hundred people really at max is all that you would really need for that, and the right things. And if you get these people in the same space and they're all vibing together and being themselves, you can really create an environment that has the opportunity to just be like a life-changing experience every single time that you do it. And this is something that I really have decided that I'm going to vector towards recreating in my life to whatever capacity that I actually can. And I think I'll probably be able to do actually a really good job because I really remember what this space felt like. And I think I have a really good idea of the parts that it needs in order to be truly like functioning as a space that can really generate a life-changing event in that regard. And like I used to be very much so about like teaching people functions and like guiding them on the way and stuff, and I'm not really about that as much anymore. I mean, like I'm still very capable with this. I still like to help people if they look for the help in that way, but at the same time I'm really more about like creating spaces and creating the opportunity just by way of space for a person to have like an experience that's different than what they're having in their normal life, or maybe is different than what they've ever had inside of their life. And that's really what I think everything that I've been doing in my life is a culmination of, whether it be like through creating digital spaces or understanding how to manage them, whether it be through my dancing, through my writing of like poetry or lyric or just creative writing, or I mean, through so many other different things. Anything I've done with music, my engagement with the hip hop scene and the rave scene and all these things. Really just like getting a really good idea for how to create a space that inside of that space, there's the potential for change. I think everybody wants to live a happier, more joy-filled, you could say blissful life. And I don't really think that we need to coax them down that path. I think we need to provide them with an opportunity for the people who do actually want to do that and give them a space to really, really fucking nurture that side of themselves that wants to just really just be liberated, for, you know, lack of a better terminology. I'm sure there is a better one out there, but nevertheless, like, if we can create these spaces, I think kind of the rest clicks in for itself. And so I've already done like just a million like kind of esoteric extrapolations on this concept, and it sounds really good to me. So I'm really excited about it. Really, definitely something that I'm going to be pushing towards more, just because like I really want to create it in my own life. And I think that's something that we should always take into account too. If there's something that you really love or really want to see in the world, definitely don't spend time going like, oh, I wish this was still here or anything like that. You know, do what you can do to create that space if you feel like that space no longer exists. Hello, Aaron. It's good
Hi.
to see you. How you
Thanks.
doing?
I'm doing really good. Sorry, I totally got caught up in getting my place clean. My sister is helping me, and I'm feeling a lot better. I'm getting rid of lots of stuff, and it's a great step on that process. So it feels good. It feels viscerally very relieving and good to actually decide this clothing is in this box. Done. You know, it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I like having, it's basically like the idea of having stuff taken care of. It feels very much like scratching something off of a to-do list.
Or scratching my
Even if
back.
it's just like,
It feels
shit
way
that's
better.
just like sitting around.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Nevertheless.
Yeah, man. How you doing? What's up, Willow? Willow's our new admin. Did we talk about that yet on the show? She's our new admin.
I don't know how I would have possibly talked about that. I found out about this briefly through a text message. I don't know anything about it. Well, welcome, Willow, for whatever it is that you're doing now.
Yay.
I don't really know what that is, but I'm sure it's great.
It's okay, Zach. I've never run a Facebook group, but it seems to me as an admin,
Your mic is chopping a lot.
Oh, is it? All right, let me see.
It's fine now, but when you leaned back over there, it was
That's
not
dumb.
so much.
Hold on. I'm also streaming 720 on my video, which is unnecessary, so maybe that helps. I forgot what I was saying. Oh, well, like, okay, so I'm not sure. We're figuring out admins and stuff are, but if part of that is just being around the community in the chat or on just the group page and just seeing posts, you know, she's able to see things. We know it's someone who's been there from the beginning and just gets it. She's active in the chat. It's just like there's so many perfect things about Willow as a person and the dynamic that she's built. Like, oh, all right, want to be an admin? That's cool. That'll help us grow and do things. And then she made the folder. She's making a folder for different things, like screenshots from the shows. Oh, when we came up with the idea to start a folder for screenshots of people who like write good quotes or something in the show, and when it's on screen, then screenshot that during the show, and then there's a folder in the group with those screenshots of people's cool quotes. So, anyways, stuff like that, just whatever interesting stuff's come out and sounds really cool and fun, and we're doing community shit. I guess it's great.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, any kind of really project worth doing takes a whole lot of effort from a lot of different people. Really.
Yeah.
So anybody willing to give their time to the community in any capacity, even if it's just coming here and hanging out, really appreciate that.
Really, it's really cool, guys.
It doesn't turn into a community by myself. I tried that for years and years and years. It turns out it's still just me. So
yeah, Zach invited me into his community. I was in his spaceship, man. Zach let me in. It was great. Very thankful, Zach. You have a wonderful spaceship.
We're looking to scale up that spaceship into something completely differently. That's basically what I was talking about before you got here.
Awesome.
Just
do it. Me and Frank were just talking about it on the phone too, actually, like an hour ago. Keep going.
Yeah. Oh, should be noted, tonight's a short episode because we're going to stop at 9:30 so that we can link to basically Frank's Facebook Live that he's doing with somebody else, and everybody can go watch that. So that, you know, yeah. So we're going to be doing I mean, I really pretty much already went over it. The whole idea is just that, you know, creating a space for people to really embrace themselves and embrace having a good time. And like, I don't think that we need to teach people a lot of the things that we try to teach people. We really just need to give them a reason to want to learn them.
I 100% agree. Okay, so like last night, so this happened last time me and Kev were on the show after you ended up going to bed. Like things happened the last show too. And then it just gets into the kind of like after hours shit, and like we were translating Spanish, I think. Like Jasmine knows a little Spanish, and we're translating words. And then Sasha was there, and there was the conversation always seems to be really entertaining when she's around, and everybody was really getting along in the chat. And we had like 2 hours of like laughing and talking about shit, and had a really cool time. It was a totally different vibe than any of the other videos we've done, like at the tail end, and like. Even in that dynamic to have, like, I was thinking about it content wise, like the first 2 hours or whatever, like solid, you know, like to push to an RSS feed or like an audio podcast, and the other two, like, you know, that's just content that's lost on YouTube. Like the actual live dynamic though, where we were all in the group interacting was so fucking cool, man. It was very familial. It was just very fun and like hanging out with you guys down there, but like in the group, it was very visceral. It was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Not everything has to be like, you know, this clippable piece of content. You know, that comes if you come from the idea of podcasting, then you think the idea is like there has to be this value-filled show with great interview questions and all this kind of shit. But if you come from the concept of like live streaming video games, like, you know, it's just not the same world at all. A whole lot of the stuff that happens when, you know, in like live streaming, it's really just like the boring filler content in between spaces where it gets worthwhile. Or just random shit happening or whatever, you know what I mean? It's not like all serious and sculpted and shit. So in many ways, like, because of where my experience comes from, I look to kind of like sort of bridge that space, create like a space that where the value that's inside of it isn't like a good play inside of a video game or, you know, some type of quirky commentary, but actually something that's valuable like for your life or sends you down like a rabbit hole that you can explore for fun or something like that. And, you know, I'm totally fine with basically the entire rest of the time, pretty much like it's filler in between those things where you're just having a good time.
Yeah. Cool, man. Good. I'm totally on board. I'm glad you agree. So I was thinking that last night. I'm like, God, that was so fun. You know, and I get we'll have episodes like we interview people and do shit. Like, for sure, we got on topic stuff, but like, it was so fun. And we're talking about following what's fun and joyful, you know, right? But also, okay, so to
I mean,
clarify
really,
something
like a
in the
late
chat.
night space, it makes more sense for it to kind of always be that. And if we want to interview somebody,
Yeah.
to do it at fucking 2 p.m. or some shit.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
That sounds cool, man.
Yeah.
Or things like that, whatever. So then we interview
I mean,
people in the sense.
I take this show super fucking casually, anyways. If anybody hasn't already
Right.
recognized that, like, I guess like my
Well,
intros
kind of.
and certain stuff that I do might sound like robot or whatever, but really, like, this is Aaron can attest to this. This is just fucking how I am. And this is just how I do stuff. So like,
Yeah.
I don't plan this show out really at all. I just do whatever the fuck happens.
Okay, I also would like to legitimize what's going on in chat for those who are not aware of the dialogue going on yesterday. We very clearly determined that the "I love you" is also can be said as "fuck you" and felt the same way. So Sasha being in here and everyone excited, that means I love you. Just so you know. Very seriously. Our admin is not being a mean person. She really means I love you.
Yeah, I mean, if I don't know what angle you guys came at this, but the
Oh,
idea
so much
that
fun. Many.
I mean, if
keep
you
going.
think of fuck as a hateful term, like loving and hating are really just polarities of coherence. So, you know, they are functioning the same.
Yeah. It's true.
But I don't know what angle you guys came at it from. So.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to think. There's so many layers to that. The thread developed really funny in the group chat after our dialogue yesterday. It went into, well, if I pull it up again, it's gonna bring this, make this like a rated X feed again. It just was super funny, man. And the way the nuances went on innuendo after innuendo and nuance, and it was just really funny shit. So in Spanish, and it was also fuck you and I love you in Spanish. So then it was yodate or hodate or hodate or something, and that whole, anyway, it's good shit.
Yeah, I mean, having fun is really like at the end of the day, it's really the most important thing. When we like try to make sure that we have all of our, you know, needs met and we're practical and we got our shit in order and all this stuff. Even when we're doing that, we're really just trying to get it so that everything is in line so we can open up more time for having fun.
Yeah.
Really. So, yeah, we got to have as much fun as you can in the moments where it's available, or really find the availability of it in every moment, I think.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. I'm super stoked to do more music shows and shit. Even this shit going on right now is fucking great. You know, and whatever conversations and stuff. Because I think the music thing's really unfolding, man. I was talking with Frank for like half an hour earlier. And that part was really unfolding too. Just that vision being very, and I was talking about what you were talking about last night, about holding that, basically we know where we're going, like holding that vision, if you will, but then not forcing it to happen, but working with the tool and the whole dancing through the, just all that shit, man. But that bigger vision right now with the world in chaos and shit, and, you know, Frank and everybody, a lot of people ready for that transition, very 3D transition, but not knowing quite what it looks like. So we're in the in-between, but it seems very, very close. I mean, months, who knows? Like, who knows? It feels very, very visceral and tangible from a lot of different people and a lot of different angles. You know, it's really cool.
Yeah, I'm going that Field of Dreams method.
Yeah.
Like I just I was doing it already now at my own place with a couple people, and if I build it, they will come.
They will come.
Because realize here's the kicker, guys. I don't want to charge shit. Like, I don't want to charge entry or anything. The entry is that, like, you got to actually fucking vibe with that kind of space. You got to actually want to, like, be in a space and fucking really be in the fucking space. That's the cover charge, you know? Not
come on,
like,
man. Beautiful. Coherence.
I don't need your fucking money, man. I got a million ways to make fucking money. I don't need your money.
Oh, shit. Come on.
But this space definitely don't need your money. But at the same time, like, I mean, it ain't going to make itself for free, but I'll build it. You know?
Dude, listen. So we were also, and I'm down.
Yeah,
let's do that shit for sure. That is in our vortex, man. That's in our Abzu Tiamat vortex, self vortex, whatever is beautiful on this earth, and we get to be a part of it and help facilitate it. Vortex, it's all fucking there, man. And like, so the we were talking about last night too, doing like shroom church. And so having like different people going different times, like, you know, people mixing on there, doing their own thing, or even like, but have music going in different ways, or a set time during the week or evenings where people come and gather, kind of shrooms or whatever. You get to do your own thing, listening to music or group together shit, or different people get up on the mic and do their own shit, like same words or lyrics. It's just fucking people doing shit and people getting the music. And anyway, this kind of community dynamic, plus what you're talking about, like several nights a week hosting or whatever that means, man. This microcosm of reality. I'm so on board. I can't even tell you.
Yeah, I don't even know what it means.
I don't know. But it feels good, man.
I don't
it feels
really know
good.
What it means. So,
all
I know is it basically looks like this. So.
Yeah. Oh, I got echo.
Yeah. It's because I shared a whole screen.
Oh,
and for some reason, StreamYard doesn't actually do that. So.
Yes, he will super on board. I think she's the one who suggested it, and we kind of developed it. But yeah, like that.
I mean, I don't know what you mean by mushroom church, but really, whatever anybody fucking feels like doing, like you should do it. That's the thing. Like
that kind of thing. Just having the space
fucking
to have
million billion rules on society to stop people from doing shit that they just like sounds like fun for them is like it's ridiculous. Like who fucking signs up to this shit?
No shit.
I really just don't understand. Like it. Okay, so I've lived in the same world that you guys have lived in terms of like what the laws were and everything, but I haven't lived the same life as other people because like, I mean suggestions, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, all these rules and shit, man, like we gotta ease off on the fucking rules that we let other people put on our experience, or even that we put on our own experience.
Totally.
Like,
that's probably the biggest
one,
right?
It just makes fucking life bad. Sucks.
And what I meant by Mushroom Church, I'm sorry I wasn't clear. I meant we all get different hats and outfits from the Smurfs cartoon, and you dress up as the characters from that cartoon. I thought you thought I meant like psychedelic mushrooms. No, man.
I don't know. I said I have no idea what you mean by mushroom church, but whatever it is, if
we
you
can also you can dress up in beat costumes. I went to a church, man. I went to a beautiful church with beautiful people, and there were people who came through regularly in services, Sunday services, where I do a lot of music and live music, kind of the stuff we're talking about, just within that framework and symbol set. But there's people coming in bee suits to dance around and just make people smile, and clown suits and happy, and like they put stickers on you and say be happy. And this one girl goes around in their costume with the like plastic camera and booping people on the head at the right time, and they'll bust up laughing because it's so absurd, right? Just absurd and funny, and it's lighthearted and it's sweet. It just creates a very beautiful, cohesive environment, you know.
Having fun is the fucking name of the game. Like that's where you really find a cohesive environment, is when people are all having fun doing the thing that they're doing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like because that's what everybody actually wants. Even if they're like, oh, we all get along here, but we're not really having fun.
Right,
they're definitely still thinking in their head like, I mean, I could go do something a little bit funner. You know
right.
I mean?
Well, and like that's the thing, man. Like that's why
you want that. Ideally, you want to be able to like know that there's a space that you can put yourself into and you know that it's available, where like you get a legitimate feeling of like ecstasis. You don't fucking think about something outside of that space while you're in that space.
Yeah.
That experience, motherfuckers are missing that in their life.
And you know,
I get this all the time, especially thanks to you, Aaron. Like, literally just a space where I sit and use my computers right now. Like, I turn shit up loud enough and turn lights off, dude. I'm in a completely motherfucking different world. I don't know where you guys live, but I'm not here anymore. Totally different world. So
I can't tell you.
It's wonderful. You know, I'm in that moment anytime I want to be, literally at this point in time, because it fucking sounds just as good. You know what I mean? Feels great. My space here feels fucking great to me. I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but it feels fucking great to me.
Yeah.
So
feels great to me too. I've been there. It's fucking wonderful. It's one of my favorite spaces on this planet, Zach.
Everybody seems to be okay with it. So, you know, I think it's doing all right.
No doubt, man. Then it makes me so happy.
It's fucking loud sometimes, though. I'll tell you that.
What's cool is that your neighbor doesn't even fucking care. He's a cool dude over there. Like, he doesn't really care. He's just like, And he's like one of his 60s, you know, maybe pushing 70s. He's a cool dude. We've had a couple conversations with him while we were over there. He's pretty chill.
Big respect to that guy for, you know, not
right. And I'm pretty sure he's like your average, like, kind of semi-conservative older person, you know, like, and he's asking us questions that were pretty conservative about stuff. But he's really friendly, really, really accepting. Unity. It's very great.
Yeah, he seems good to me.
No doubt, man.
He hasn't
turned you to ask you to turn down your music once. It's fucking great.
Yeah, and even if he did, like, as long as he asked me instead of like calling the police to come over or something like that, like, I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah, no shit.
So, if you really need to get some sleep or something, you can't because of my stereo. Like, I understand it.
No
So.
doubt. Yeah. It's just cool that like that doesn't happen because it was pretty fucking loud when we were over there. I don't know how much louder it's been, but like, it's just sick, man. It's fucking sick. Sick.
Yeah. we lucked out a couple nights where you were here because he went out of town for a few of
even
those
better.
days. So we didn't have to think about it at all.
Nice.
That was good. Yep. Anyways, I just think that's what people are really missing in their life. Like,
Yeah, man.
when I was in parts of my life where I knew, like, so in like a couple days or this weekend or whatever, I'm gonna have a time that is like, I can't even actually imagine how awesome it's gonna be. I can't imagine what's gonna happen. And like that, a lot of times that didn't really require very much. I mean, like I had some weekends where, for instance, we only really like did house parties and shit, and there was maybe no more than like 40 people around at any given time. But the whole weekend was like just amazing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And really like knowing you have a place to go to these kinds of things and to do that kind of stuff, like it makes like normal life, the time outside of that, so much better. And if it's got a good enough frequency, you really just like never stop, because it's like you're having the good time, you're preparing for the good time, you're having the good time, you're preparing for the good time. So it really just like never stops. And I mean, if you work together as a group, you really, working 40 hours a week, every week of the year. Like, I hate to break it to you guys, but there's a better way. All right? Like, there's a better way.
Speaking of which, here's an interesting dynamic that's developed. So we haven't talked much about that. I've spent the last 2 days with somebody who's coming on board with our company and helping this whole transition or that whole dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like as we transition, it might functionality, especially as I strip down my lifestyle and everything here, be able to work, like 2 or 3 weeks a month, and kind of at where I need to schedule work, but really have 1 to 2 weeks off a month to be able to put into this kind of stuff, other stuff while I'm here, but also to be able to go and travel and go places. And so like the fact that I've seen Kevin, I've seen Frank, I've seen a bunch of people in the group or around the grid. I've actually gridded a lot of the areas, and it's really fucking cool. Just creating seeing you guys, all that. It's like there's I don't know, maybe I'm creating a human grid amongst our digital family or something. It's fucking cool, man. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, it's interesting in a certain, like, I look at all kinds of weird shit, but one of the weird shits inside of all of this is how, like, you have this real drive to, like, go and meet people physically, which is weird for a metaphysical space, right? Like,
right.
I've spent a lot of time around very, like, metaphysical people and in a very digital lifestyle. Like, there's for instance, there's a guy named Abdel that I've probably spent 20,000 hours hanging out with, at least, over the last like 12 years of my life or something like that.
Yeah.
We have never considered actually going and meeting each other in real life. I know this guy, like he's like my brother or something, you know what I mean? Like he's grown up around me, you know what I mean? He's only like 25 or something like that. When I started talking to him, he was like 13 years old. We were playing some football, like soccer game, and I just happened to meet him there, and he was trolling people, and I was trolling people, and I thought he was funny, and we started talking, and here we are like 12 years later. I still message him time, here and there. But it's like, if I ever like went to where he lived, I would probably be like, hey, like I'm in your fucking town or whatever. But like, we've never been like, hey, we should meet up. You'll meet someone on the internet, and like 6 minutes after meeting them, you're like, we got to find a way to meet up. I'm going to fly out there. Like, it's crazy.
And part of it's like the time of life that I'm in, right? Because I have the time, literally. I am able to take as much time off work, even with the work dynamic we've been in. And this situation coming in, it's going to relieve some of my workload, which relieves my stress. And if I'm stripping down my lifestyle in a sense to match, then that's a good balance, right? But it frees up my life to actually do and to go and to be. I'm not anchored by stuff, so I can really build a new life, whatever that looks like. So the more minimalized lifestyle for me allows me to do that stuff because I value the experiences, right, of being with people, like real life interactions. Like we met Daniel Mello. I never would have known that. Like, and I haven't seen him in a while. Like, miss Daniel. Mello, come back. We love you. But he's doing his own cooking show stuff that he's starting. We got to just hang out with him and Layla and just different people, everybody from the group. So I don't know. There's something to it that's a value to me in my life where there'll be times maybe I'm more anchored down in a different sense. It feels right. It feels like the fucking wings under my feet, right? It's just fucking cool. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a community around you and people that are like enhancing your life, and it gives you a lot of basically tethers into the future, where you want to see your future. You want to see how the thing evolves, the idea that you and this other person have, or the relationship that you and this other person have, or the project
Yeah.
that you and these other people have. These things are what actually make you like want to live more. You know what I mean? This is what life really is like building shit together. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter whether it's a fucking barn or it's an album or it's a fucking painting or a sculpture. It really doesn't matter. Like, when you're building shit together, that's really like the life part of life, you know? So we, like, a lot of, especially in the space of like people who are working on themselves, you really live inside of death. Like, you're sitting there like breaking down yourself. You're figuring out what you can fix about yourself. You're figuring out what can be changed, what you can get rid of, who doesn't fit inside of your life, how you don't fit inside of your life. You fucking live inside of death. I urge you to take some time to live too, because if you spend your entire life focused on death, you'll get really good at dying, but you might find yourself at the point where you're going to die and go like, whoops, forgot to live. So, I spent a lot of time focused on death. It was really beneficial. I don't say that people shouldn't do it at all. Just remember to also do the other side. You know, like, the other side is the reason why you're even fucking doing that side. So, party more, in other words. Don't get fucking practical. Party more. Don't believe the hype. I'm gonna corrupt so many individuals according to the normal societal paradigm with this entire line of thinking. Honestly, I've thought it for a really long time, but I kept it to myself for a while, really. But not anymore. No longer. Like, I'm 100% confident now inside of myself that the whole of society is ridiculous with the way that they've been going about things, and the way that I was doing it that they said was fucking totally wrong. That's definitely working better than what the other people were doing. So
No
like,
shit,
I'm
huh?
totally fine now with being like, nope, they're wrong. Like, no, you don't need to do any of that shit. Actually, just do whatever you think is fun. It'll work out. Like, it'll work out good enough. Oh, but then I'll never become a doctor. And it's like, well, if what you're doing for fun doesn't end up with you being a doctor, you being a doctor would have ended up with
Shouldn't
you
matter
fucking
so much.
hating your life.
Right.
So, who cares? Do you want to be a
doubt,
doctor
man.
and hate your life, or not be a doctor and love your life? So,
Yes.
yeah.
100%. And like, what's funny? So I'm excited to be on this journey with you, right? Because I'm still. I mean, that's really what I'm in the middle of doing, right? I mean, traveling out to see you, me still pursuing the things that make me joyful every day, and the stripping down my life is doing that. It's really helping, in those ways. But knowing that I'm leaving in one way or another, I am leaving this infrastructure I've been a part of for over. Lighting way better. Let me turn that shit down though. But one way or another, I am leaving the infrastructure that my ego or my identity at least has been a part of that life. So I've left the church infrastructure personality wise, like, solid year and a half, 2 years ago. And like, have been venturing out, making new friendships, all that dynamic. But then leaving the actual practical day-to-day money making or the ability to do those other things is changing. And so it's cool just to be in that shift and to follow my joy in the process, even though things at times can be intense or a little stressful. But I don't know, it's all balanced, man. D&B, listening to shit during the day is super helping. Like, as we dive into those threads, part of me is like, oh, I gotta work or I gotta do this other stuff. I want to dive into it, but I can't. And it's like, well, really? I think I can. And like, so doing it while I'm doing other shit, or like, they're trying to dive in to follow where it's going, because it feels good to do that. And it feels shitty to be like, well, I don't have time for that. So finding ways to integrate the two, because that's the thing I'm actually joyful and passionate about at this, in a lot, because it connects to so many other things too. Anyway.
It really does. Anything that you're passionate about and where you're like creating something with it will lead to like a great expression of self, where you'll be able to learn plenty about yourself, refine your life, all these things. Like, I don't know. You learn the same shit regardless of whether you're working on like breaking yourself down or building yourself up. And it's just a lot funner to work on building yourself up. It will require breaking yourself down anyways. You'll have parts of you that just are blocking you from building in some area. But it makes it so much easier to just smash that shit out of the way with a wrecking ball. It's like, get the fuck out of here. I'm never doing that again. And that's really like so much. It honestly feels so much better to me, at least, when I have like this epiphany moment. I'm like, oh shit, I'm doing that. I'm never doing that again now, though. Like, now that I realize that ain't happening anymore. And like, you can actually, inside of yourself, you're like, no, I'm literally never fucking doing that again. There's no way. There's no way I'm ever doing that again. because you're just totally fine with the idea that like you're shutting that down. It's not like, oh, but like it's hard for me to stop. No, it's not hard to stop. You see it and you're like, no, I'm fucking done. Fucking
Yeah.
never. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
realizing the reason why you've stubbed your toe every time you've stubbed your toe in your life. Like there was one coherent reason between every single stubbing.
Yeah.
How
yeah, yeah,
easy
yeah.
would it be for you to hold to that?
Yeah.
Like to not do that anymore. It'd be so easy because fucking stubbing your toe sucks. There's nothing good that you like out of it really. So
Yeah.
if you notice just one thing, you're like, oh shit, all I gotta do is A, and I'll never stub my toe again. B, dude, doing A, no problem. Yeah.
It's funny because Nate and I talk about that like at work, working together, and he'll get frustrated at some odd job. But and we talk about this a lot because he's like he's understands his own psychology. He called me his counselor at one point for it's like, oh, I've been looking for a counselor, but in the meantime, this is fucking great.
In the meantime, I'll use you because you charge less.
Yeah, like, well, it's just happened that way, because we're peers.
Yeah.
He's technically older. There's certain dynamics that I'm aware of or perceive about him. The more I spend time with him, the nuances anyway. So like, I was pointing out like when he got really frustrated doing something, I said, what were you frustrated about? And or I said, did you see what led up to that or whatever? He goes, no, this didn't work. And I got frustrated with it. I said, no. And like laid out the state of anxiety or frustration he was building up to, like the hour leading up to that, or certain comments in the day where he was getting in a internally incoherent place, and then it manifested in these massive frustration little things, or he'll cut himself or just some little stupid shit, burn himself on a pipe, but it's always stemmed from his first internal state of anger, frustration, or incoherence about something, even on a minor level. So talking about that's been really helpful just in for him and for me, and just that dynamic to see the connections of that.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that can provide you perspective on your life can potentially provide a paradigm shifting perspective that can always be very beneficial, or I mean, in much smaller doses of that too.
So there's one. Sash said, oh man, I wish that actually applied to everything.
I'm not sure exactly what she's referencing. If she's referencing the wrecking ball thing that I'm talking about, I think there actually is a way to make it apply to everything. But
yeah,
we attachment is a bitch, man. Like, it's a problem. It really is. I understand. Like, I certainly haven't been able to. I'm sure there's fucking things I couldn't do with right now. You know what I mean? But I feel like I eventually, if this is what she's even referring to, it applies regardless. Because at times it feels like, man, I wish I could fucking do this with everything. Every time I figure out how to do it with something new, I'm like, oh, okay, I could have done it with this, right? But I didn't because of this, and this. So I didn't do it like that. But now I see that I could have just been like, fuck all that shit. Like, but it's hard. It's hard to do that, But I really do think it is possible to get you. Is it right or is it good to get yourself to a place where you can do that? I don't really know, but I think it's possible. Yeah. Yeah, attachment will be my bitch someday. I fucking, I tip my hat to you. I hope you're right. I think the practice of non-attachment is actually, and that's what I think. Like that's what that would really mean, is that you're a master of non-attachment. Then like that's everything, really.
Yeah.
Our attachment just to our human identity, like it's so huge. Right. But then we do this on a whole bunch of other levels and. Abstract ways that don't really feel anything like that, but it's like it's everything really. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and letting go of circumstances, life circumstances, right? Changing jobs and whatever, or life like movements. This thing isn't just changing jobs. Like, this is shifting into a whole another reality for me. Yeah, it'll have practical 3D things that'll look like. I don't know what that is. It doesn't matter. I know there's a massive internal shift astrologically and whatever, as we've gone over on my charts and different things. Like, it makes sense. It's all lining up on a bigger picture. So it's part of it's being able to stay in that bigger picture, knowing the different transients and different things, like relating to my chart and my life movements, and seeing how, on some level, those are the vectors, right? So finding a way to swim or dance to that spot instead of freak out or beat myself up or whatever, just on the way there. It is going that direction. So just find coherence along the way, and joy with people and whatever's around me and whoever's in front of me.
This makes a good thing to touch on occur to me too, that like, even if you did have the ability to wrecking ball something out of the way, anything that you wanted. Is that really the best way to do it? I mean, because like for some reason, your thing makes me think of like I apply your situation to harmonic mixing for some reason. I don't know why. It just happened.
All right, well, please
But
continue, sir.
it
That
happened
is not a
before, like
problem
it
for
happened
me.
last night or whatever.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
nevertheless, just the idea that like when I'm mixing two tracks together, I don't want one to just stop and the next one starts. Like I want them to merge together. I don't want a fucking wrecking ball to come through the middle and just be like, that track's done. We're listening to this one now. Like that's not good. That's fucking terrible. It's all dissonant and annoying. You know what I mean? So I don't think it always is good. But having said that, there is something to be said for a mix where in a really committed way, you've built everything into the right place, and then at that critical moment, you fucking completely drop the bass line from one song, completely hit on the bass line from the other song. The bass completely changes with the highs and the mids of the previous track. It sounds like a whole new track. It's like, what the fuck? It's the great bass line from the other track with the great mids and highs of the previous track. What's happening right now? And then, slowly the fucking mids and the highs of the next track come in, and you're like, what the fuck? That was amazing. Like, that didn't exist before now. You know what I mean? And like, so that, like, dude, but that's the mixture of everything. Like, I didn't just slam one out and slam one in, but at the right time, I slammed this out and slammed this in because that really gave it that punchy fucking effect that made me go, that was fucking sick.
Dude, fuck you. Fuck you, okay? That's perfect description. The fuck you, I love you. The perfect description for, that's like really, that's what I'm trying to create, right? That's the transition of my last relationship into the life I'm in now, and then finalizing all of those transitions into a totally different life, but trying to just dance each day, right? Do a little bit of time, get things lined up. So at those moments, just boom, and drop that shit, just go on a whole other thing. Yeah. And it's all there. Just keep rolling, man. Just keep rolling. I know. It's cool. It's interesting. It's life, man.
Jasmine's husband might be sent away for 2 weeks to help with the coming storms in Louisiana, and she has anxiety. Why do you feel it's bad timing? Can you explain more on why it feels like bad timing to you?
Yeah.
And in the meanwhile, double drop. No, oh my god. Yeah, if you don't love music a lot, I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't understand it. It's just so great. It is really freaky because of what's going on in the world right now, but how I like to see something like this is there ever a right time for anything? Yeah, I mean, maybe that is subjective, huh? Like when we stay, well, I don't know. When's the right time to spend 2 weeks away from a loved one? I don't really fucking want to do that ever. I'd like to hang out with them every day, right? So, like, I in that regard, is there ever a fucking right time?
Well, time it is what it is in the moment, and find ways to dance in that dynamic. And even like Jasmine, so on a practical note, if your husband's gone for 2 weeks, you're in the chat every night anyway. Like, feel free. We'll check in, see how you're doing. You got a family here, at least some kind of company, and sending you love and energy. If you're stressed or anxious during the day, I mean, you post shit, whatever. People in the chat, like this community, man. So like, if there's nothing you can do about that, it's gonna happen. I'm really glad that hopefully we can be a place, or the people in the community can be a place that just help to bring balance in a place that might be extra anxious. I think that's fucking cool. And we love you, Jasmine, and your husband, and your son, and anyone else that loves you and you love, because we love you, and that's how that works.
And it's okay to cry.
Yeah. Crying is great. I assure you.
I guess all dense energy is going around, and also not feeling balanced with myself. Well, maybe it's the perfect time then. It gives you that opportunity to be, even more just with you, and see where you can really, tweak the knobs and dials to get the perfect mix of yourself.
Kevin says it's always right to double drop. Dude. Yeah, we're doing it, man. Every one of us, whatever transition you're at in life, or whatever, like Jen was talking about the show. I was able to catch a little bit of the show with Jen today, and talking about, the eclipse and letting things go, old cycles, old habit patterns, old, frameworks, and it's fucking perfect. So like letting those go, creating space, like stripping things out. So you're creating space for the new fucking double drop to fucking come in, man. It's good. I like it.
Double drop. Yeah, I mean, if you look at everything towards a building, towards an even greater crescendo, like it's just a further and further journey into novelty, greatness, something, whatever like that is. And then really, like, you can take every moment that's happening, even when sometimes you're like, like with just confidence that it's moving towards the better thing. This requires making the right choices in the moment, and it becomes subjective right there. But at the base of it, really, like, life is always emerging into something that has the possibility to be better. If tomorrow wasn't coming, this would be the greatest that your life could ever be. So you want tomorrow to come, you want the changes to come, we want to embrace that change so that we can make the most positive thing out of that. The animal totem for change is the snake, but in Amazonia, we know that, like, wherever there's one snake, there's two snakes, really. It's all about which one you're feeding, though. There's always a positive and a negative polarity of anything that can generate change, right? So change is both creation and destruction. It's more functional or more enjoyable to feed the creation snake than to feed the destruction snake. What that means, in like the way that they thought about it in Egypt, is to functionally keep yourself facing east. This is why they slept with their head in the east, is because the idea of westing was something dying. So focusing on the east is how we focus on the new things that are coming, right? The new rise of the sun, the new rise of the moon, stuff like this. This is focusing on creation, focusing on the whatever you would call it. The creation snake is also doing basically this exact same thing. But this is a way of kind of saying like optimism, but it's not really optimism. It's the polarization of the potential perspective, right? I can see what's coming in the future for the things that it's going to destroy or for the things that it's going to create. And which one of those I choose heavily differs the way that I perceive the coming days in the past, right? Like the day before they come. And to quote Malcolm X, the future belongs to those who prepare for it today. Today you are preparing for tomorrow, and your perception of whether tomorrow is going to be destruction or creation changes your perception today, and thus adjusts the way that you prepare for tomorrow and predicates your experience of tomorrow. So it's quite beneficial to focus towards what can be created out of everything that's happening rather than what's going to get destroyed in that place.
Right.
So back here, Sasha's talking about doing some grounding. I'm fine with that. Jasmine says also just this feeling of not having control of the unknown is intense again because his job has risks, and then being far away feels harder. Yeah, I hear that. Unknown's a scary ass thing. That's for sure. There's nothing more scary than I have no fucking idea what's going on over there, right? Like, it could be anything. Right. So this is where we really just have to trust. Like, I found for me personally that the concept that the universe is working for us, not happening to us, really helped me a lot with this, and just like kind of ruminating on that more, because while there is always unknown, this is again, I'm talking about the creation destruction thing. If I look into that unknown and I go, oh my God, what catastrophes and destruction could wait for me inside of that unknown? It looks one way, and that makes me go like, oh fuck, this is sketchy. But if I look into that unknown and I go like, what great things, what new emergences, what new creations could exist inside of that space, maybe then I start, riling up that joy that's like, I want to fucking go over here and take a look, and I'm actually like eager or assertive to go over there and look into the darkness rather than like edge into the darkness because functionally linear time is fucking pushing me in to the darkness. Linear time is just moving, right? If you're going into the darkness eagerly, then it doesn't feel like it's pushing you. If you're refusing to go into the darkness because you're thinking of all the terrible things that could be there, then you're going to feel like time is pushing you in to these things. No one likes to be pushed into the fucking pool, right? But if you really want to explore the water, you'll never get pushed in because you'll happily dive in. Right? Or edge your way.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's say if you know you're going anyway. Get in a position to dive in. Like if you know that you're going in the water anyway, putting yourself in a position to dive in instead of resisting and risking, and then you belly flop. You're going anyway, right? I mean, find a way to go with coherence in between movements of those parts of your life or fluids, right? From the air fluid, if you will, to the water fluid or whatever different dynamic. And even like, so, Frank, what's up, man? Okay, so Jasmine, I want to say also in the dynamic, like being away from people you love is incredibly difficult, right? I just only imagine the risk and not knowing what's going on, especially if you can't communicate regularly. So like finding way into your own meditations or whatever, I found profound benefit for myself and for the other person, like sending visceral imagery or a feeling state, embodying feeling, hugging them or holding them, or them being safe, or them being with you, or them being comforted by you to help them like you're entangling with them, especially when you send a visceral, vivid imagery in that way, and they can feel that, and like even develop, like when you spend time doing that, it makes you feel connected to them because you actually are. And then you can create whole new imageries and metaphors and things you wouldn't even have known or even considered before spending focused time on doing an internal coherent state of feeling what you want to feel with him. You want to feel connected. You want to feel how he's doing. You want to feel present with him. You want to just be with him, right? So sending that to him and being able to receive also where he's at or how he's doing, and just connecting even in a daily way or a joyful way.
That's
or in a
one way
playful
that I
way.
did it when I've engaged in long distance relationships, which function if they got to go away for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, you're in a long distance relationship. Look at the places inside of that long distance that you can work on things that you wouldn't do short distance. Like, I don't know what your husband likes to do, like spirituality wise, right? Like whether he meditates and stuff, but something that I do a lot is like, so meditating with someone when you're aligning everything that you're doing, but you're in completely different spaces, trying to have a shared experience, is quite a bit different than doing these things in the exact same place. And only by actually having that period of long distance do we actually create the opportunity for us to work on these other kinds of nuances of our connectivity. So we use that space as going like, oh, here's fucking 2 weeks where we can work on our, like, distant connection, basically.
Yeah,
And
right.
so like that, you're going to learn all kinds of things, and positive things are going to emerge from working on that format of it too. And then it becomes more like a blessing than a curse, basically.
Yeah, well, that's like finding creative ways. So the universe conspires for you. So if you're in a situation, you're 3D separation, we're in a 3D separation in some sense from living in this community or having this community dynamic that we're talking about, and continue to just build and put energy into because it's real. And I think all that's really been there etherically. We've created that in past lifetimes. We've created that with our heart's desire in this lifetime, even though we didn't know the form. Now we're finding English words to articulate a form, right? And language and visuals and music and all this stuff. And around a community, Frank's in here. We were just having this conversation earlier, like I said, and even like, so when someone's appropriate with Frank, we find creative ass ways, even just randomly on the phone, to try to teleport to each other, connect, or do telepathy with each other, or like refine shit, because that's coming soon. We'll be with each other, not just telepathy, but it's living that way now, right? I'm distant from him. We do the telepathy, and it's real. Like there's real visceral connection and dynamics Frank's talked about on the show. We've talked about those things, but it makes them as if they're with you, and eventually we will be with us. But it's like it's making it as if they're with you now when they physically aren't. I think maybe that's what the world's missing, is like when you're not physically with someone, it's less. We take it. The emotional reaction is too intense because we're not physically with them. I can't feel any of these emotions, or eternally in myself. But that's just not true. Like when we can actually have that deep, intimate connection with yourself and with other people at a distance. I mean, that's where it's really beautiful. So then the physical can just physically being around people enhances that. But anyway, there's a lot of fucking beautiful in the in-between time, or the distance times, because we won't always be distant forever. So it's beautiful. Out creating the situation.
Yeah, focusing on the east. Always, again, like the true optimism to me is not glass half full, half empty. It's what are you going to do with what you got in the glass? Making what you want out of what's in the glass. Like in the present moment, you can't change what's in the fucking glass, but you can change how that is being interfaced with. So,
yeah.
We love you. We care about you. We're here for you. There's tons of people in the community that I'm sure you can find someone to talk to 24 hours a day if you really want to.
Yeah.
So, we're around.
Frank's got his own community. He's been doing this for years. Frank has been doing radio weekly show for I think 3 years or so, then been doing the video weekly show on YouTube for another year or so. Like Frank's been doing this a long time. He's got his own family. He's an incredible human being. He's in here. He loves you guys. We love him. So there's multiple families merging, if you will, which is beautiful, man. And eventually,
there's no real reason for
awesome.
Frank's family and our family to stay separate in any capacity. So feel free to go over there if you aren't already from there, and go hang out over there too. Like they're a bunch of cool people too. So there's no division, guys. Like realize if we're gonna get into shit in the long term, whether it's conspiracy theory level or we're talking spirituality or whatever, every next level, in my personal experience, is from coming to realize that some format of division you are buying into is actually a load of bullshit. And then you fucking move past that format of division. You find some way to be more unified with another format or another layer of reality. And that's really where the enhancement of your experience comes from. So like division, it's not really a thing. It's a thing that we experience, but it's not really a thing. You know what I mean? It's a learning mechanism.
One, Frank says, unite the tribes. We are all fearless family. Dude, fuck yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
100%.
I can't tell you how much I love that shit, and I guess I know why astrologically now, right? The whole Syrian superfather shit. This whole family thing, I love it. It's fucking great. Makes my soul happy.
We really have an emergence of that at this point in time where, all right, if we, strap your tinfoil hat on for a second, but we all got misled with the idea of the nuclear family. That's not what fucking family is. That's not the way that it's actually supposed to operate. The whole idea that you're completely bound to a genetic group of people who do not even share your ideology, and for some reason you need to keep this little isolated fucking faction with them where you stay in the same house and those are the only people that you can love and all this stupid shit like that. This is quite obviously an operation of division. It's fucking ridiculous. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It leads to problems. Why do you think that ever since the engagement of the nuclear family, we've had more divisiveness between communities? Community events have gotten in the fucking shithole. Police have gotten worse progressively since then. Domestic violence has increased. Infidelity has increased. Monogamy has gone into the fucking shithole. All kinds of various different things. Kids fucking hate their parents now. Parents hate their fucking kids. It's not a good situation. A lot of this is because we've put out this idea that you're be in your fucking box with the fucking people that you're supposed to, and these people run the show, and you fucking listen over here, and no one it's fucked up, guys. It's not a good look. I urge you to take a look at it and go is this really the way that I want to live my life, right? I'm not speaking for everybody, but there is definitely some effects of living your life like that, and a society living their life like that and buying into that kind of concept as being the societal norm.
Man.
I don't like them personally. Definitely feeling lighter, guys. I needed a reminder because I went completely dark with my thoughts, which is more old Jasmine, not the Jasmine I'm creating now. Love y'all so much. Good job, Jasmine. That's literally all it takes. Little baby step like that at the right time, and you suddenly jump into a completely different dimension of yourself. It's not.
And
it's not.
And also, Jasmine, that you're willing to share. That you're willing to share that in the chat and be open and vulnerable. We all fucking struggle with shit, man. Get anxious about shit. It's really okay. So it's totally fine. Beautiful.
That authenticity will save you a million years of pain, honestly. Just being willing to own the fact that look, I'm not doing the thing that I want to do right now. Help a brother out.
It's interesting, the thought of the similarity, the synonym between authenticity and vulnerability, right? Mm-hmm. One implies authenticity sometimes I am being authentic, I'm being an asshole, but I'm just being authentic to how I feel, and you're just being a dick, right? But then there's vulnerable, okay, sharing that she's anxious about the situation going on. Who knows what people are going to respond to that? Maybe people can't help. Maybe say people things. I don't know. Who knows? It's so you're putting in a position potentially to be. I don't think hurt is necessarily the right word. Maybe, but to be treated in a way that may not feel coherent to you by a community when you're especially opening up vulnerably, but you're authentically sharing how you feel. Whereas other times you can share authentically. There's not really vulnerability there. This is just my thought on something. I'm not really concerned about it being rejected, or you know what I mean? So
I don't really think authenticity and vulnerability are synonyms in really any capacity. I think that there's maybe small places of carryover. Vulnerability is exposing a place where you don't believe exposing a place where you believe you could be hurt, right? That there could be some type of negative impulse there. If a person does not believe that they have the ability to be hurt, then it actually is impossible for them to be vulnerable, right? Because vulnerable, we think of this like a suit of armor, right? A suit of plate mail is only vulnerable where the plates come together or where the plates don't cover, right? Well, now assume the plate mail is literally my entire body covered in a single piece of steel, right?
Yeah.
I have no vulnerabilities, right? But then also, if inside of the armor that does have chinks inside of it, I'm immune to swords or whatever weapon that the other person would have, then again, I still cannot be vulnerable because there's no way for their attack to hurt me. So to be vulnerable is to really is to insinuate that I can be hurt, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And now, I'm not saying that you can't be hurt. You might be able to be hurt. But if you think of yourself as an infinite oneness, unity of everything, you actually can't be hurt. Everything is kind of happening to the forward plan of whatever the hell it is that you are. You might not understand that plan right now, but you're not actually being hurt. It's maybe hurting, right, at the moment. But are you really actually ever vulnerable if, like my brother Frank said back here, the universe is actually conspiring for you? If the universe is working for you, then how are we worried about you getting stabbed inside of it, right?
Right.
So vulnerability is something that we can transcend ever even having the feeling of. Other people will still be like, oh, you're so willing to be vulnerable. And you'll be like, yeah, I mean, whatever. I can tell you exactly who I am. I can be completely authentic with where I'm at.
Right.
Because even if I'm like, yo, look right now, like I'm not doing what I want to be doing at all. Like I'm totally screwing up with this, that, and the other thing. I'm not vulnerable because even if they're like, yeah, haha, you're a fucking idiot. I knew you were screwing up. You're the worst. I'll be like, yeah, okay, whatever. I mean, like, I'm just not doing very good right now. I'm still just fine, but whatever. You know, their opinion, like, that doesn't mean anything to me. But that's just because I've developed my own mechanisms of that. It's like I'm openly sharing, but that doesn't necessarily make me vulnerable, right?
Right, totally, yeah. Let's be totally subjective, I guess, depending where someone's coming from.
I'm not saying you shouldn't ever be vulnerable. I'm saying that it is possible to transcend the idea of vulnerability. That's not necessarily meaning that you will then go like, well, I never ever want to expose myself ever again, and I never want to allow that to happen. You probably won't, you know, in my personal opinion. While I know that I can render myself into a mental position that will not place me in a place of psychological or basically physical vulnerability by being logical and not going into the wrong situations, then I can render myself into a place where I'm never vulnerable. But do I actually want that? You know, I like to go to sleep next to the person that I love, even though they could technically suffocate me or murder me in the middle of the night if they so chose. I like that. It's vulnerable every night. I don't try to avoid that vulnerability. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but now authenticity, this is really just like keeping it 100, right? Like not beating around the fucking bush and not trying to mislead anything. Yeah. And while that does oftentimes put you in what you would call vulnerable situations, through spending enough time with authenticity, you will likely learn how to transcend vulnerability because you will realize, like, well, I got to be authentic to who I am, but sometimes this fucking sucks. So how do I make it not suck while still being authentic? And the answer will be transcend vulnerability in those situations, pretty much. Or accept the vulnerability, which is functionally a format. You're not actually worried about transcending being vulnerable. You're worried about transcending not dying when you get fucking stabbed. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's the same idea with, like, climbing. We make this joke about climbing all the time. Nobody's actually worried about falling and climbing. They're worried about hitting the fucking ground.
Sure,
right?
makes sense. Yeah.
Like, falling through the air ain't fucking, there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. Ain't nobody getting hurt there. It's just when you hit the ground from 30 feet up, then all of a sudden everything becomes a big problem real fast, right?
No doubt.
So everybody's trying to hang on to the rock, not because they're afraid of falling, but because they're afraid of what happens after the fall. Right?
Yeah.
Same thing with vulnerability. You're not actually afraid that someone will stab you with a sword. You're afraid that that stab will fucking hurt you. Right? That's really the thing. So there's many, many ways that someone can approach not being hurt by the, you know, slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, to quote the great Shakespeare. You know, like, there's all kinds of ways that this can be avoided. A lot of people just avoid it in ways that, well, from psychological terms, we basically consider it even like disorders, right? Where they render themselves immune to outside opinion for a variety of reasons. And not saying, again, this is what you should do. I'm saying this shows us what the mind is capable of doing, you know? So this vulnerability complex is one that we're capable of managing to some level. And we should, as my own personal opinion, since we can do that, we should take responsibility for doing that, because it will probably give us great power to be able to choose when we are vulnerable and when we aren't vulnerable, and not have that dictated by the situation, the environment, an outside party, some other kind of outside force. I choose when I'm, vulnerable. That's the better place to be.
Totally.
In my opinion.
Yeah. No, 100%. Well, I think, that's ideal. Like, so that you're... Yeah, that's good. It's good shit, Zach. Don't let me elaborate. That's so fucking really well said. Well done, sir.
In my opinion. That one for a little while. I mean, again, this is just my opinion. If anybody ever thinks I'm completely fucking wrong on something, you're absolutely right. You know? Like, you really are. I have very polarized opinions that are based off of my own very specific experience. Didn't really take a lot of other people's opinion into account with that. And so, but I speak from what I've experienced all the time. So,
well, that's like, it's also just like the space we're creating too. It's like there's a lot of things. You say a lot of things. I'm in coherence with so many things. There's certain things maybe not, but it's like it doesn't matter. There's so many other things, and it's like, so it's interesting to think about it the way you say it. So it almost doesn't matter if there's agreement with everything. There's coherence with many aspects. It helps me think about things in a slightly different way. So by the time you're done, it's not like, well, I agree or disagree. It's like there's a lot of good shit in there. It's fucking great.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's good at least, you know. I've worked on, like, sculpting my communication to a place where it's like, even if you didn't get along with me or whatever, it was still not a complete waste of your time. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
Good
Be
shit,
happy.
man.
Everybody should be happy. It's so easy to be fucking mad and focus on the destruction, focus on everything that's going wrong, focusing on what could go wrong, what catastrophe could turn out. Guys, the entire fucking Earth could get cleaved in two by an asteroid at any point in time. We're flying through space at 17,600 miles an hour. This shit is dangerous. Have fun.
A little bit.
Have fun.
Yeah, no doubt.
We could get utterly destroyed 100 different ways any given day, but it's probably not going to happen. And it's a lot less likely, in my own personal opinion, again, a lot less likely to happen if you don't spend any fucking time thinking about that. You know?
Yeah.
So the less you think about shit
And the
going
point
wrong
is-
in your life, it very much so seems like the less shit goes wrong in your life. So
Yeah, man. Fuck
people
yeah.
that I know that like worry a lot about getting pulled over by police, they get fucking pulled over all the time. All the fucking time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've never worried about it at all. I've been pulled over like 3
Right.
times in my whole life or something. You know, like a couple times.
Really? Only like 3 times?
Yeah,
Really? That's funny.
hardly ever. you
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah.
I don't worry about it. You know what I
No
mean?
doubt. Right on.
I also
I
don't
don't either.
fucking
I
go
just have
hot
more
rodding
encounters.
around and break all the fucking
Right,
laws
right.
and shit. You know what I mean? Like I follow the
Right.
rules of driving because they're the fucking rules, and I'm driving, and I agreed to follow those rules, so I do. you know?
Right.
But
Yeah.
like,
Seriously,
I
what
mean-
you're saying is you're not speeding off and trying to race cops and stuff on the street. You're just driving like a normal person.
yeah, I'm just using my fucking car like a a law-abiding
Like a person
citizen.
uses a car. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like, if I feel like fucking going fast for a second, I'll probably do it. But also at that point in time, I realize, like, if I get pulled over right now, I know exactly why that happened. It's because of this decision right here. So, it's,
Yeah.
But if you're not, I don't really I don't spend time thinking about that. You know what I mean? I'm in the moment, and usually,
Right.
like, when I start going fast, it's because I'm listening to some music. It's getting me a little more pumped up, a little bit more pumped up, a little bit more pumped up, a little bit more
Yeah.
pumped up, and whoa, I'm doing 105 now. Like, what the fuck?
What
Okay,
the
all right,
fuck?
all right.
All right,
I can do this. It's nice.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I don't know why it happens, but it does sometimes. And if,
Yeah.
if suddenly I got a little blue light special, fucking when that was going on, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean,
No
like,
doubt.
yeah, I mean, I'm breaking all the fucking
Yeah, yeah.
rules. That's how it is. Yeah. But really, point is, like, it's real fucking easy for the world to look real shitty or real awesome.
Yeah.
But like, you gotta dedicate to one of those. And like, standard world at this point in time, pretty dedicated to the world being shitty. I had an interesting realization the other day too, that like, if the world is like balanced, right, then the fact that like the news is filled with like so much fucking trash, like shit that you don't want to be happening, right? Like, it's all bad news.
Yeah.
Right? And then like movies are all like violent and war torn and all this stuff. If we have to create all of that media painting the world to be a bad place, then that means all the stuff that we're not creating, that's all the other space that we're basically balancing with those creations, is intrinsically good. That's like the nature of what that balance would be. Right. And that basically means that, like, you're looking at like bad news. The world's so full of good that in order to make it look bad, we have to like pump you full of bad shit all the time, right?
Okay, so we are definitely going to have to watch, like, maybe the next few days. There's a Steven Pinker TED Talk on the world is actually getting better, or is the world actually getting worse? And he clearly shows over, like, and he's gotten a lot of shit in mainstream news. He's a mainstream scientist, physicist, or whatever he is, whatever he does, his degrees, but he's gotten a lot of shit because he shows basically like on every given metric that matters, like literacy rates and food poverty, and like really from all the metrics that kind of matter, the world's getting increasingly better for decades, for like the last like century, really, or more, like massively. And so he just lays it out, and it totally breaks my parents who hadn't seen any of that. I think my mom, they watched it like twice because it's just a lot of stuff you don't get focused on in mainstream news. Maybe they pop a little in here and there, but he shows you like in a context of a 20-minute video, you feel so encouraged about life. Like shit, the world is actually a lot fucking better than I realized, you know?
Yeah, and right on the back of the global warming thing, it should be noted that every golden age in history aligns with a warming period inside the fossil and ice records of every core sample that has ever been taken. So it's quite possible that that global warming is directly aligned with a raising consciousness, a golden age for the culture, basically a whole bunch of really positive shit. And so like, well, yes, obviously we do not want the earth to be 125 degrees in the winter. I couldn't agree more. But what are the other implications of the world being warmer on average than it usually is? It seems like a lot of good things. So
Dude, Kevin said I have faith and am optimistic about the future. Young beings like Willow ODing on knowledge and thoughts like this every day. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah, man, it really is. Beautiful I say that.
I interface with a lot of mothers, and those mothers have kids, and like even the kids like 0 to 10 right now, like I'm honestly just fucking mind blown at the frequency with which I'm like, damn, we got a good one on our hands. You know what I mean? Like it's really, really cool. Like this is I don't know. I mean, so the whole consciousness thing, there's a lot of people that believe there's a war on consciousness. Anybody who believes that somebody on this planet could war against consciousness and have any fucking chance of winning is delusional about the power of consciousness. Consciousness will smack any little human hierarchy out the fucking way easily. The only way that that human hierarchy would even exist is because consciousness wanted to create a restrictive force for it to push against to further substantiate how badass it is. Like, it ain't happening. Ain't nobody stopping the expansion of consciousness. That's fucking impossible. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever. This thing right here is consciousness playing a little game with itself. Like, it ain't happening. This is consciousness expanding. What you're looking at all the time. Ain't no one's stopping it. This is ridiculous. No way.
Yeah.
No way. So, and certainly not on my motherfucking watch. So,
No doubt,
you know.
man.
And I ain't going anywhere anytime soon. I love
Nope.
this place.
Got another 319 years to go or so for me.
I'm one day old forever for the rest of time.
Yeah.
So, you know, we got a long time to go. Because there's always one more day, guys. Until there isn't anymore. So, there's always one more day. So, anyways, yeah,
we just
coming
passed
up close
1 hour,
to the
23 minutes, and 45 seconds. Sounds like a great time.
13 minutes. Yeah, exactly, right there, Frank. I always ask them, how do you plan to defeat Source? Like, it's a fucking logical fallacy. There's no way. It's just not happening. So, we got 13 minutes until Frank is going to be going live on Facebook.
You're going to be there, Frank. I'm going to be there.
We'll post a link here for this live that he's doing. Well, if I remember where I had that link to it.
Then I sent you in your messenger. Yeah, okay. So, you say you didn't sure. Now you remember. Good.
Yeah. But in the time it took it to come out of my mouth, I remember. So,
yeah.
So, nevertheless, yeah. I don't know. I appreciate having all of you guys here and young people like Willow ODing on knowledge every day, but not just young people. Literally every single person is here. Like, dude, we're all young as shit.
We're all learning.
We're all young as shit.
There's so much shit to learn. There's so much shit to learn.
We talk about young people like Willow, like the oldest, like what? We're like, some of you are like in your 30s or in your 40s or in your 50s or maybe even in your 60s or your 70s or something. Like, how long are you going to live? You don't even know. 10 years is a super long time. 20 years is a super long time. Like, there's so much time left. Like, we're not fucking old. We're young, you know? So, we got plenty of time to do all kinds of shit that you're like, man, I'm so glad that I lived for all those years after 2020 because that was the greatest part of my life, you know?
Come on, man, 100%. Dude, things are getting better. Worlds in chaos, our worlds are not. We're creating coherence amongst the world's chaos because we're living in a different world. We're living in a fucking starship. Whatever that means, right? We're creating UFOs. They're calling in UFOs like we're creating UFOs, our own starship, but it's identified as a coherent object, flying object.
My husband had a nasty bruise and I was going to put arnica on it, and I completely forgot. My 3-year-old somehow got into the bathroom cabinet and handed him the arnica. I didn't even tell my husband out loud.
Cool.
That was what I was going to put on.
Awesome.
That's
Cool.
crazy.
I love those stories. Please feel sure to
The
share
thing
more.
has
That's
been
awesome.
happening for a long time. Anybody who's new to the expansion of consciousness place, or it's like your first couple years and you haven't seen like a real big jump yet, this little starship here has been building up and growing to new dimensionalities for, I can only say, the last 25 years as I've been watching it. But it's never slowed down. It's only been doing exactly the thing that was predicted that it was going to do from the very beginning, and doing the exact stages that it was predicted it was going to do. And it's going to keep doing the same thing. It's not a thing that gets slowed down. It's just a thing happening. Yeah. So, and that means that kids are wild all the time. Like, referential to you, kids are wild all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you consider yourself an adult, kids are wild. Like, I can't believe they do this just naturally.
Yeah, 100%.
That's why the Amazonian people believe that, like, when a kid comes into the world, it's not like, okay, now all the elders are going to teach that kid. It's really more like the other way around. It's like now all the elders get to relearn from the kid, because the kid's got like the new version. He's going to show us how to do it. She's going to show us how to do it. Yeah.
Like, that's what we all want, right? I mean, it's really the freedom the children have, where you ideally create an environment where they're free to embody their consciousness. It's not traumas, it's not expectations, school and work and a job and blah, 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 all the shit we're trying to unwind out of ourselves. So let's do what the kids are doing. Yeah.
We got to make learning funner, man. That's what it's all about. That will honestly solve everything. I've decided that today. That's my new jam that I decided today. I realized, guys, I have 4 new jams every single day, and they all get cataloged. I'm doing all of them. I got a lot of time. So, nevertheless, learning. The problem is literally just that they don't find it fun. If they found learning fun, then they would associate getting more learning with getting more fun. And so they would naturally sculpt, or want to sculpt, the tools needed for good learning, because the sculpting those tools would be sculpting their effectiveness of getting more fun. So they would naturally sculpt abstract and critical thinking, which I like. That was like, in my mind, I was like, oh, of course. But like, I had been, for years, I've been trying to teach people abstract critical thinking. I've been telling them, like, the most important thing is that you learn how to do this. And like, nah, fuck that. I'm going about it a whole completely different way. Like, literally just going to make a space that, like, that a person in it realizes the value of learning and is having a really good time while they were doing that learning. And preferably, like, start that when they're really young. And they'll always just associate learning to fun, and then they'll naturally develop these things. So, and they'll do it way faster than I ever could have taught them to do, because it'll be a passion project for them. You know what I mean? It'll be great. It works 100%. So, definitely a newbie to consciousness. LOL. So everything wows me when I'm able to really see it. Yeah, welcome to the rest of your existence. Like, it literally forever. You're going to be like, wow. I still do that. I'm definitely not a newbie to consciousness, as anybody would consider it, but like, I'm still going, wow, all the time. So, yeah, there are signs everywhere. It is being observant enough to see them. Yeah, I mean, the universe is this big, crazy, like, orchestra going on, where everything is perfectly falling into time at the time that it's supposed to, and it's if you know what to look for, it's crazy what's going on right here, and it's really just beautiful. Realize, like, my psychedelic usage has toned down dramatically throughout my life, because life has become more and more psychedelic for me in my normal reality, and all I really wanted from those things was, like, seeing this beauty of cohesion and everything working together, and it's all right there in the same place in unity. And like, I've taken these lessons and I fucking practice those day in and day out as hard as I possibly can, and really, like, dude, my life feels like, dude, I'm fucking pumped. on life. I honestly can't even believe that I'm so excited for life, especially at like a point in time like right now. Realize like right now is the doomsday that my mom always talked about. Like I was supposed to be like, oh God, we're fucked right now.
Right.
No, apparently not. Like I'm sitting here in that exact
Fuck
space that's supposed to be happening, going like, this is sick. Like,
come on, yeah, right.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, right, man.
It doesn't make any sense. But if that's possible, like, realize I have been predicated with my societal conditioning, that of my mother, since the time I was born, that if what's happening right now in the world, from my perspective, is happening, basically all is lost, and I should run away into the middle of nowhere and hide away from society. And I'm not doing that at all. Like, I'm instead going to like build a little neat society, and if the rest of society wants to come, all right. But if only like 200 people, that's all good too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not worried about it.
Come on, man. 100%, bro.
Apocalypse literally just means lifting of the veil. So isn't the apocalypse supposed to bring heaven on earth? An argument could be made that if you think a higher dimensionality or a greater knowing or something like that, a novel experience is heaven, then that, I mean, apocalypse can't possibly not do that.
And so even an outcreation of the old systems. So the old systems will no longer function in a new golden age reality. So we're creating an infrastructure that's in harmonic resonance with the age we are in. So the way that there's chaos is because those old systems are dissonant with where the age we already are in. That's why we can embody it so viscerally, what we're talking about, and work towards it joyfully. It's already fucking here. So if we stay joyful and pursue that, then we're going to get there. So let's have fun every day along the way. And like the whole digital community thing is like the funnest shit I've done in like my whole life. And it keeps developing and interconnected with our families and Frank and people in chat, and just everything is like, all of it's fucking great, man. Let's keep rolling. I think Zach froze. All right. Well, actually, this is probably a good time unless Zach pops on and says an outro also. Oh, he might be coming on. Ah, there he is.
My connection dropped all of a sudden. Have no idea why.
No worries.
Yeah.
But that's probably a good time because Frank's show starting in 5 minutes. So if we want to do our outro and transition over to some other family doing some other cool shit in the Facebook chat.
Yeah. So we are going to do that. I'm going to drop a link in chat right now for a Facebook post that leads to, you should be able to follow that Facebook link and go to the ladies page that's hosting the live, and you can probably figure it out from there. Y'all are very smart people. So Frank will be on there starting in about 4 minutes. And thank you all for being here. Everyone in this community is all so awesome, really. It's so like the fact, 46, man, if you guys could see the world from my perspective over the last 50 days, it's insane. It is literally insane. Like the stuff that has clicked into place and been built and been created, and the plans that have been generated, and how people have worked together, and the networking that's transpired, and just so much shit, so much stuff. You really just couldn't believe it. And like recognize, like, you guys are a part of this. I wish I could just take my consciousness and put it inside of your head so you could see what's happening right in front of you. Because like you're a part of it, and it's really happening, and I know it all the time. It's like, it's amazing. So, and like Frank's 100%. Fucking part of that, and Frank's gonna be on here, and all of you guys are a part of that. 100%. Like this isn't happening without you guys being here. You're here in the basement. We're gonna get all the way to the rooftop. It's gonna be an amazing view from up there.
Fucking sick.
And you know how much you're gonna like that view when you look back on it in 3, 5, 10 years, 20 years. I don't know where does it all go? I don't know. But when you look back some night, standing there someplace where you're having a life-changing experience and everything is in the right place, and you're standing around a bunch of people from this community, and you look back to this moment and the moments before it, at that point in time, you're going to be like, damn, it feels good to be a gangster. Enjoy Frank's show.